Once again, it's your friend Sizway. I want to welcome you to another episode of What They Do. What They Do. What They Do. What They Do.
Curry chicken.
What they do.
You heard that?
You know what they do. What they do is a slang in Miami where we say what they do, what's up, what's popping. And on this show, we just checking in with our friends to say what they do. I got a special guest in the building, and I must tell you that she's our first female guest, right? She wicked, you know. She's a entrepreneur. She's a promoter, a carnival lover, carnival baby. Let me welcome CINCITY Entertainment. Cindy.
What's up?
What they do?
What they do, says we. What they do?
How you doing, girl?
I am fine, and I am so happy to be the very first female on your podcast. I'm making history.
Yeah, history's being made.
History.
Right? Yeah, thank you so much for coming. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for
having blessing
me
with your presence. You know, I think it's important that people in the community who are doing, excellent work come on the platform, and for you to take some time out of your schedule to come quite down here to come do the podcast. I appreciate it.
We call it quite too.
Yeah, with the sticks on the corn.
And the cornfield.
Cindy, you was in Trinidad. How was Trinidad, boy?
Oh my gosh, Trinidad was absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
The soca this year was is absolutely phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the only thing I find like they could have played more in terms of like artists, various artists and stuff. I find like, you know, they could have played a lot more. A lot of songs didn't get played on the road.
Okay.
On the road in parties like Wet and Wild by Fayan, 50-50 by Fayan. I didn't hear no Chris Kennedy.
Yeah.
You know, so I feel like when you listen to like a DJ's you know, like they mixtape or whatever on YouTube or SoundCloud, you hear it's like an hour long of soca music, and not playing entirely the whole song, you know, but it's so much music out there that you really like. And then when you go to these fetes and stuff, it's like, you know, you hear music, but you hear repeats of songs, of the same songs.
Yeah. You don't want to touch that because I saw you post about the music. One of your latest posts is about the music. There's some drama with soca from Trinidad and soca from outside, and you know, there was some talk about songs not being played, and then the outside soca being played, and people having an issue or not having an issue with that.
Yeah, I may have caused some controversy for some of the things that I may have said.
Ruffle some feathers.
Yes, ruffle some feathers, but I mean, that's my truth and my opinion, you know. I feel like people just come to Trinidad for Carnival and salivate, foam at the mouth to go back and talk about, well, Trinidad Carnival was shit. They ain't play enough music. They only play 5 songs, etc., you know. And I had pushed back on that because I felt like, okay, when you come to Trinidad and Tobago, right? Or when you go to any other island, say for example, you go to St. Lucia, you would hear Dennery segment. You know, you go to Dominica, you would hear their music mainly, Bouillon. You go to any small island, you would hear a lot of their music. Not saying that you won't hear outside, you know, like Trinidad soca and stuff like that, you do. But when you come to Trinidad, you should mainly expect to hear Trinidad soca.
Okay.
So don't come here expecting to hear, you know, like, you know, a whole heap of bouillon or a whole heap of Dennery segment. You know, it doesn't work that way. Trinidad Carnival has a huge huge catalog. We have a lot of artists that put out 10, 15 songs for the season. You know, like Marshall Montano, lyrical, lyrical poet. I saw about 12 songs with him, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
You know, Marshall also put out a lot with videos.
Yeah.
You know, so I just think that, you know, when you come, each carnival has its own specific DNA. According to Tony X, I was having this conversation with him. Sorry, not Tony X, Back to Basics.
Okay.
I was having this conversation with him, and he said some poignant things. You know, each Caribbean carnival has its own unique DNA.
Okay.
And that is what you should go to enjoy. I'm not going to go to Grenada and expect to hear only Trini Soca or plenty Trini Soca. I expect to hear jab, and when you go Grenada, that's what you mainly hear. You hear a lot of jab, you hear, you know, expressive, you know, their culture, how they express their culture, their love of jab. You hear that in the music when you go to Dominica, you know, all these other places. You know, so I think when you come to Trinidad, the expectation is for you to hear a lot of Trinidad Carnival. So don't come here and complain. Because we do make it inclusive. We do play a lot of outside soca, and we do incorporate soca artists to come to Trinidad and Tobago, even win competitions and take it back to their country. So we are very inclusive.
Do you think that mindset of when we in St. Lucia, we should be hearing majority St. Lucian music, and when we in Grenada or St. Vincent or VI or whatever country we're talking about, do you think that mindset hinders the soca? Should we be approaching soca as just soca, and whatever record that is hot should get played regardless of where it is?
Yes and no. Yes, because people love what is popular. People love what is, but you hear popular soca, you want to get on that train, right? But I also feel like because each carnival has its own unique DNA. If I go to Grenada, I want to experience how Grenadians party. I want to experience their carnival.
Yeah.
If I go to Dominica, I want to experience Dominican carnival.
Dominican vibe.
Yeah. You know, any other small island I go to, I want to experience their cultural impact.
Yeah.
You know, so, and if you come to Trinidad, you should expect to experience the Trinidad cultural impact also. You know, so that's not necessarily yes and no, because to me, like, all islands incorporate a variety of music, including Trinidad and Tobago.
Yeah.
You mightn't like the fact that maybe we didn't play enough of, you know, other islands, but you're in Trinidad.
Yeah.
We have a huge catalog that could basically carry us through an entire carnival season.
So you're saying that some of the pushback is from other people is that there wasn't enough outside music being played, and you feel like it's Trinidad Carnival and you should hear more.
I disagree. The reason why I disagree is because, like, people have, like, the people who go back and say, oh, Trinidad Carnival was shit because they didn't play XYZ. I don't think that's fair, because number one, we do play a lot of outside music. We do make it inclusive and incorporate other islands. You know, so just come and experience Trinidad for what it is. We are the mecca of carnival. Right? When you hear soca music, the first island you think about is Trinidad and Tobago. Wrong or right, it's a fact. You know, and this is not to denigrate any other island or their contribution towards soca music. It's just on a worldly scale, soca music comes from Trinidad and Tobago. You know, so when you come to the Mecca, when 120,000 plus people come to Trinidad and Tobago, they want to experience Trinidad Carnival, Trinidad and Tobago Carnival. You know, and I feel like if you come to Trinidad and Tobago Carnival, take it for what it is. Enjoy the experience. If you go to Grenada, if you go to St. Vincent, if you go to St. Lucia, Dominica, wherever island you go, enjoy the experience and take it for what it is.
Yes, Cindy, I hear you. You know,
it's a tough one.
It is a tough one.
It is a tough one, yeah.
You know, because I would my dream is to be able to approach soca from a world perspective. And I think that when we segregate the music specifically right? I get that there's Dennery and there is Bouillon, right? But on the world stage, I think that they're seeing it as soca, or at least we want them to see it as soca, right? And we could bring the genre to the world, I think, better
Right.
than if it's separate and these different places, and wherever country who holding the vibe today might get the most push.
Right.
When Grenada might have the biggest song,
Right.
or a Grenadian artist might have the biggest song when it comes to soca music
Right.
as a genre.
Well, that's how it works because, take for example, Black Adan, he had one of the biggest songs for Trinidad and Tobago Carnival for the entire season,
Yeah.
and it did very, very well. He won the ultimate soca champion and was, so I just think that, I think on a world stage, like outside of the Caribbean,
Yeah,
exactly what you said works.
yeah,
It works.
yeah.
Because I didn't know, for example, I didn't know who Asa Banton was until he came to Miami.
Okay.
And I saw his, and I was like, who is this man?
Yeah.
And then I heard he was from Dominica. I followed him,
Yeah.
etc., etc.
Yeah.
So on like outside of the Caribbean, it works because you get to hear all the genres, you get to hear all the soca,
Yeah.
but within the Caribbean, when you go to a specific Caribbean island, I think you should take that particular island's culture because each culture is uniquely different. Like Grenada specializes in jab. Trinidad had jab too, but
Them have it.
Grenada have it.
Yeah.
We can't do jab like Grenada.
Yeah. Who has the best curry though?
Trinidad and Tobago, of course.
okay.
Hello, Trinidad.
Right.
Curry
Just-
anything.
I'm just checking.
Check.
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you,
Yeah.
and I think that point that you're making is very valid.
Yeah.
And some people, I think, if they're not really listening to what you're saying, you're not saying no outsiders. You're just simply saying, in the country that you're in, taking that thing, taking that vibe.
that thing. Yes, exactly. That's what I feel. And I've heard a lot of people talk about various carnivals, and but I always see stuff about Trinidad Carnival. Like it wasn't good. Trinidad Carnival is shit. It's always something like why. Like why?
I've seen a few of these videos, and maybe it's just my feed, but I did see many videos about the carnival not being good.
Yeah.
That it was way too much groovy music, and we're looking for more vibe and more energy. Is Trinidad and Trinidad soca losing some of its, I don't know if the word is value, but some of its strength?
Never.
Never.
In 2025, we've had the most visitors since pre-COVID.
Okay.
Right? The numbers I saw was over 130,000 visitors.
Wow.
Right? And these are repeat visitors also, and many new visitors if we're being real. So I don't think we're losing our value at all as the mecca of soca and the mecca of carnival. We could never lose our value.
Okay.
We invented this thing.
Okay.
Right? We invented this thing. So I don't think we could lose our value. I think we could grow. We could grow. And I actually think that soca music is growing.
Yeah.
On a world stage,
I agree with you.
I feel like it's growing. And we're going to eventually get to the point in the next few years where soca music is an actual genre on iTunes and Spotify and not just on the world music.
Yeah.
I think we're going to get there very, very soon.
Listen,
Very
out
soon.
here there was a set of drama. I'm wondering if the drama was the same, right? Eskimo was a big deal out here. Now I didn't go Trinidad, so we wasn't there. Was it the same level of intensity as it relates to the bacchanal behind this Eskimo, big links, small links, real links?
I think that the whole back and forth was unfortunate, but I also believe that I also feel like, give Jackie jacket. If Full Blown created the rhythm, I wouldn't like to know that I created something and a man just jump on it just so, and and I ain't get no credit, or you didn't ask me for permission. So I think that Trinidad Killa and his team did the right thing by redoing the song, redoing the rhythm, and making it uniquely their own. The Nicki Minaj touch was absolutely amazing. And I love Trinidad Killa. I love Trinidad Killa because he like me. I grew up in Laventille, I come from nothing, grew up in a board house, toilet outside, kitchen outside, so I came from rough times, and I feel like oftentimes we are misunderstood or devalued or not given the same opportunities because of who we are, because we mightn't talk with the convent accent, or we mightn't be part of the 5%, the 1%, the 10% or whatever, but
I wanted to ask you about that briefly. I mean, touch back Trinidad Killa, right? But you from Laventille, and I understand that you grew up with Leroy Clark, or you lived with Leroy Clark, or
oh my gosh,
is that something?
I
know things.
Listen, I love Leroy Clark. May he rest in eternal peace. I consider Leroy Clark as a father.
Okay.
As a father figure. I lived with Leroy Clark, Mr. Leroy Clark, for about 2 or 3 years, and I was privy to actually see him creating masterpieces, like art out of this world.
Yeah.
And
Leroy Clark is, for those who don't know, is a world famous artist.
Yeah, world famous.
From top to bottom.
Once we were living at his house, and I was pregnant at the time, and I went to clinic, right? And while I was at clinic, I heard that Mr. Morgan Freeman was at Leroy Clark's house. And I'm there hustling, trying to get back. And they was like, oh, you just missed Morgan Freeman. I was like, what?
Yeah.
So, it was just an amazing experience coming from Laventille, eating with a spoon.
Yeah.
And being taught.
Yeah.
Like, no, eat with a fork, or being taught to speak properly. I don't have no shame in my game.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I don't have no shame in my game. So he taught me a lot.
Yeah.
He taught me a lot of manners, a lot of wisdom, and he made me feel what it is like to have a father.
Wow.
And which is something that I didn't know my dad. I didn't know my real dad. So having that father figure and that role model in my life was a phenomenal experience, and one that I would always treasure.
Amazing. We had a huge Leroy Clark painting in our house.
Oh, really?
Huge, like big like this wall. Because my aunt used to know Leroy Clark, and so we have some unique friends, at least by way of maybe somebody else. You know what I'm saying? So I thought that was interesting, and I wanted to talk about that. But back to Trinidad.
Yes,
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that, the art world in Trinidad, the art world in Trinidad is something to be revered. There are a lot of prominent artists. My kid's father actually is Mr. Nigel Paris.
Okay.
He being around him, and which eventually got me to Leroy Clark, Makimba Kunle, Babu. These were all great men, and I learned a lot. It changed me a lot during that time frame, because you're talking about like the late 90s, 96, 97, 98, so, and then Mr. Leroy Clark had a house in Aripo, the village of Aripo, all the way in Arima, and I lived there for I think it was 8 months to a year. I lived there, and it was just the experience was everything that I didn't know it could be.
And it probably made you a lot of who you are today. That
Yes,
experience, yeah.
definitely. Definitely. I used to tote water and thing because which part my house was, I had to go down a hill, round a corner, tote water, do laundry, bring back water to wash wares, and all kind of thing. And I remember when my kid's father, when he started, like seeing me, he was driving for Mr. Makimba Kunle.
Okay.
He was his driver, and he would come, and I'd look at like this little guy speaking all proper English, like, hi, how are you?
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, I day, like, who is you? Talking like,
Yeah.
because it's Quarry. I grew up in Quarry and St. John Street. So, I didn't know about speaking properly. I didn't know how to. I didn't know. I was eating with a spoon. Everything was a spoon.
Yeah.
So, so going into that environment really changed me and made me the person that I am today. So I'm grateful for those experiences, and I'm definitely grateful for Mr. Leroy Clark.
Mad. That's what's up.
Mad.
And I'm glad that I was able to
Yes.
to bring that back for you
Yes.
a little bit. So this Trinidad Killa thing and him being like you, as you were trying to say.
Yes,
before we left.
him being like me, in terms of, growing up in the tough life, people not taking you seriously because, okay, you from little ghetto girl or whatever. I just admire his strength, his tenacity, his perseverance, and I think he's a phenomenal artist, and doing that Eskimo song really resonated with me because I had to put my children to sit down. They were 2 and like 3.5 years old, and they didn't understand mommy leaving, but I had to say, hey, I love you, mommy going away to work. I'm going to send back toys and barrels, just like the video. That was me having a conversation with my kids.
Wow.
And I was breastfeeding at the time. My very first trip to America, I stayed for like 5 or 6 months. I was breastfeeding at the time. And every time my boobs would swell up with milk, I would cry because I'd be like, damn, my daughter, she want breast because now when I tell you, she suck it down. She suck it down, now.
Yeah.
2 years old, she be like, mommy, I want to tell you a secret. And I don't know his breast she wants. I'll come on, like, what you want to tell me, darling? And she'll pull it and she'll suck it. She'll be like, I fool you. So those were great. Even though they were tough times, I don't regret it. But, it is what it is.
I think that Eskimo really resonated with a lot of people in the same kind of sit down and I have to go and then that cold weather and just trying to make something and missing home and all those elements.
For years I couldn't come home,
Yeah.
For years. I think my first trip back was like in 2012, 2011.
Trump ain't playing around.
Yeah.
You're paying what you got.
My passport say United States of America. I walking through free.
Yeah, stush. Nah, that's what's up. I like I was saying, I think that whatever the drama was, I think it was necessary.
Yes.
And the reason why I think it was necessary because the messaging in the music was able to come out.
Yes,
You know what I mean?
definitely.
It was able to really, maybe it wouldn't have been as big had it not been for the drama.
And it did resonate with a lot of mothers who've had the same. I know plenty people who come over here to make a better life for themselves and for their kids.
Yeah.
And the song, like that's his talent, to know what resonates with people and how to execute it. The first time I heard this song was on the Full Blown Rhythm, I was like, oh God. I said, yes, I love this song. But then when I heard the controversy, I was like, Lord. So I'm really glad that he did the remake. He was able to get Nicki Minaj, another Trinidad and Tobago artist. I'm loving the fact that she's from Trinidad on such a world stage, and and then she's exposing our culture to her over 200 million fans and followers. So that's That's awesome.
Yeah,
That's
no, it's
awesome in
awesome.
itself. Yeah.
I mean, it's just amazing, and I think it elevated this year's carnival too.
Exactly, and that's why I think that soca, the soca music genre, is being catapulted to the world stage on a different level.
I think I saw that it was like Billboard top 5 or something.
Yes,
like
yes.
Yeah, that's
Eskimo, I think
crazy.
at one time it was like number 2, you know.
Wow.
Yes, it's amazing.
Wow, crazy.
Amazing, yeah.
Cindy, you have Bonami, you have sundress
Sandals and Shades.
sundress sandals and shades.
Sorrel.
You have a bunch of feature parties.
Yes.
Right? That hold their own.
Yes.
Right? You have Bonami, which is Miami Carnivals, one of Miami Carnival's feature events.
Yes.
Which I think is hard to have a feature event in Miami Carnival, given that there's so many promoters here, a storm of New York promoters.
Yes.
And being
female.
being able to have an event, staple event in Miami, and you've been able to create a space, right, where you've had a feature party for Miami Carnival where many people cannot have a feature. Some people might have small little parties, but you have a must-go-to party for Miami Carnival. How have you been able to establish yourself as a premier promoter in Miami, and not just a premier promoter from Miami, but a premier female promoter in a space that is heavily dominated by men?
By men. Whew. Well, my very first event was in 2016, which was Drinks, DRINXX, right? XXX. And I started off doing promos. That's how I got into promoting, you know. If somebody's having an event, I'd be like, yeah, this Saturday is all about the camouflage boat, right? Ting, 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 ting. And, you know, everybody would see me and they'd be like, oh, God, I come in that event. And Clem, which is another promoter here who really and truly encouraged me to get into the promoting business here in Miami, he was like, why you ain't do your own events? Because I used to promote and he never asked me, you know.
Yeah.
He never asked me, but I just like the vibes and me being who I am and, you know, loving to help people and promote and do things like that. I was just like, I would do a video and send it for him. And he's like, why ain't do your own event? So I came out in 2016 with my very first event, which was for my birthday, called Drinks. And then the following year, which was 2017, I came out with my very first Miami Carnival event, which was Bonami.
Okay.
And that year, Hurricane Matthew was coming. And let me tell you something about faith.
Yeah.
Having faith, perseverance, and belief in yourself. Let me tell you something. Hurricane Matthew was bearing down, right? Flights start to cancel. People start to call and say, hey, ting, 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 I ain't coming. On Miami Carnival Wednesday, I had only sold 25 tickets.
Wow.
I called my girl Giselle. I said, Giselle, oh God, girl, what to do? Should I cancel? Ting, ting, ting. She said, no, go through. You got this. I believe in you.
Yeah.
I
Big
say,
up
bet.
Wasi all the time.
Big up my girl all the time. And then the promoter called me the very same day, and he said, Miami Carnival Wednesday, he said, somebody just called me and they want to offer triple what you pay for the venue. He said, but I tell them to F off because Cindy's my girl and I'm not doing that, you know. He have a little, integrity.
Yeah.
Right? So he said, nah, man, we go through. Yeah, nah. By the time, remember I tell you I only sell 25 tickets, right? By the time 12:30 reach around and I inside by the bar doing my little thing, one of the bartenders come and say, Miss Cindy, did you see outside? When I went outside, he had a line around the corner, you know, people with umbrella and thing.
Yeah.
Check me now, oh God.
Wow.
It's by me they covered. Oh God.
Yeah.
Yeah, nah. I had faith
Yeah.
not to cancel the event, and I also had some great advice, but I was really worried. It was my first Miami Carnival event. That night, I got 475 people in my event.
Wow.
The majority of which paid by the door,
Yeah.
you know, and Bonami took off ever since. I started off doing it by myself.
That's 2016.
2017, 2018, and then I believe in 2018 or 2019, my boy Scoops.
Yeah, that's Boston.
Scoops out of Boston.
Yeah.
He saw me in the bathroom and I was crying. I did it at this other venue or whatever. And he was like, Mom, tell you. I said, well, I didn't have the money to pay for the venue. And I don't have the bar. And I'm watching everybody buying bottle. And here I was sick, you know. When I tell you I was sick, I watching people buying champagne, buying all kind of things. Because when I had talked to the owner of the bar, he told me he would give me a percentage of the bar. But when I got there the very day, he told me, he couldn't do it, blah, blah, blah. And I had to pay him a little fee to use the venue. So I was in my feelings because I said to myself, if that was a man, that would not happen. He would have keep his word.
Yeah.
You understand? But because I'm a female, he did what he did and he was able to get away with it, you know?
So do you think there's a real bias in as a female? Is it a real thing?
It's a real thing.
It's a real thing.
It's a real thing, you know? And I built my respect from ground up within the industry, right? It wasn't easy and it's still not easy because oftentimes, for example, and I will say this, I have no shame in my game.
Sure.
It's harder for women in the industry, right? Number one, I'm single, I don't have a partner, you know. Number two, when you try to collaborate with guys or have a guy investor or you present a party idea to my event idea or whatever, it's like, oh yeah, good, yeah, cool. When you're ready, let me know, boom, boom, boom. So I've had a couple experiences like this, but I'll tell you one. I've had this experience where I had a great idea and I wanted someone to invest. I reached out to a couple of people. This one guy said yes. And he said, okay, I'm gonna give you, I'm gonna do this. So he was supposed to give me money to do like the first initial down payment for the venue and for various things, right? And I always had to. I didn't end up getting the money, first of all, but he always wanted me to come and get the money at his house. It was always at his, no matter what I said. Let's go to dinner. Let's, you know, I'm going to meet you so-and-so. Then go come and pick it up. No, come by my house now. Come by my house now. You know, or meet me. I here by so Lyman. Come on, Lime. Okay, you had the money on you. No, I'll leave it home. Let me go buy me food. So suffice it to say, because I didn't go to the house, I never got the money and ended up doing the event all on the majority of my events. I just do it by myself.
Yeah.
You understand? Thank God that I have great people in my life now that would, you know, like say, well, okay, yeah, I'm going to invest this, I'm going to invest that, you know, but it's often hard. It's often hard because somebody always wants something. You know, I don't know ugly chick. You understand? But, you know, sometimes I just want to, you know, present a proposal and have someone take it seriously without saying, you know, all right, come to my house now, you go get the money. Or
So is the hardest part the hardest part of being a female promoter, having to deal with men male promoters or
yeah, yes and no, because I do have male promoters and male investors in my life that, you know, that are strictly business, you know, but then you come across some that, you know, they want more. I even had one guy tell me, he's like, I love your idea, you know, and I would invest, but I want you.
Wow.
And because I want you, I don't mix business with pleasure.
Wow.
So I appreciated him being upfront and truthful about his real intentions rather than pretending, stringing me along, and then because I wasn't forthright with what you wanted, you know, the deal fell through. So, you know, I appreciate people. Just tell me what you want now. Tell me what you want up front.
Yeah. Does your strength as being a female promoter and being able to have the longevity, being able to have the staple events come from your childhood, from Laventil, from growing up in a tougher environment?
Yeah, because I had to run plenty. I had to run a lot. And by running, I mean, walking through a track and somebody going so and jocking the wood and saying, come. And I talking about 7, 8, 9 years old.
Wow.
Right? I remember this time I was chased by 3 guys. I had to run through Rose Hill track. I was molested from a very early age.
Wow.
From the age of 5 years old to the age of 12 by a stepfather, a teacher, a neighbor, a coach. So it was always like, what is it about me? Like I always knew as a child, like what is it about me that these grown ass men want? And it was tough. It was extremely tough growing up. I kept my silence like most victims do. You keep silent, you pray, you work on it. And as I started to get older, I started really rebelling. Like, I remember one time I pulled a knife from a stepfather, like, don't touch me, pelting stone at the neighbor house because I know where to see one. And when I pass in, he like, come. And I pelting stone. I was a bad little chick too. I used to fight a lot.
But that was rebellion?
That was from my
rebellion,
environment.
or is that you taking a stance, like saying not today?
Great point. Me taking a stance saying not today.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, not today. And I had many days like that as a child, and then it had the days where you just give up, and it was tough, but I do believe that it made me stronger. It made me who I am today. It's hard going through life, and this is not to expose my mommy or anything like that. I grew to understand that she also had a tough life and didn't know what love was. But I didn't hear the words "I love you" from my mother until I was 42 years old.
Wow.
Imagine going your whole life without hearing those words from a parent.
Yeah.
And that was me. When she told me, because I related it to a cousin, I cry about my eyes out and I said, I never hear my mother say those words. So she spoke to my mom. And because my mom wasn't used to saying it or used to hearing it herself, she stuttered. She said, I have something to tell you. I said, what? She said, well, I love you. And she hung up the phone.
Wow.
And I called. She back. I said, what you say?
Wow.
She said, I love you, and she hung up the phone again. So I started to bawl. I said, oh God. I was my boyfriend at the time. I called him. He's like, what are you crying for? What's going on? I said, my mother just said she loved me. And he didn't understand. Like, so why are you crying? Because this is the first time I'm ever hearing those words from a parent.
Yeah.
I didn't know my dad growing up.
Yeah.
He wasn't in my life. So just the one parent I had, and I made a concerted effort to make sure my kids knew that I love them. So even up to today, my kids is in early 30s, 28 and 27. We could talk on the phone 5 times a day. It's just normal to say when you're hanging up, I love you.
Yeah.
I love you too, baby. Bye.
Yeah.
I made that effort so that my children wouldn't have to go through what I went through. And not to say that my mom was a bad mom. It's just that she didn't know better, and she did what she knew best at the time.
Right, like most parents.
Yeah. So it's only after, realizing, okay, my mom also had a tough childhood. She was also abused.
Yeah.
She also never heard the words, I love you. So in turn, she didn't know how to treat me. But when it was my turn to raise my kids, of course, you had the internet came about and more education in terms of, how to treat with kids and different things like that. And, I made that concerted effort to not, to make my kids feel loved at all times. I cut their ass still, but it was always an I love you cut ass.
I think that's interesting, and I think that maybe it happens to many of us, because I don't ever remember hearing my dad, and I love my father. My father loves me, right? I know he does, but I don't ever remember him saying that he loved me, right? And I don't need it now because I know.
You know, right.
But I do understand. There's a thing about wanting love, right? And wanting to be loved a certain way,
Right.
and accepting that person might not be able to love you the way you want to be loved.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
But knowing that they do love you, or through their things that they've done, sometimes could bridge that gap.
Right.
So I hear you. I want to tell you that I love you. Right? And we here at What They Do podcast, we love you too.
Thank
right?
you.
We all do. Everybody who's here. And, and
Love you guys.
I think that we need to do a better job of expressing that to the people that we care the most about.
Yes,
you know?
definitely.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right on that.
So we're taking this childhood experience, right? These rough times in your life from early age. I think we were talking earlier. I think you said from maybe 8 years old. 5 years old.
5 years old. Yeah.
Right, forward to today, where you exude strength in your business.
Yes.
Right? You've also just launched a video podcast. Well, you're identifying it Cindy's Top 10.
Cindy's Top 10, yes.
Right? So let's talk about that.
Well, Cindy's Top 10 is just, they have so many, like, there's a niche for it, right? I used to do it back in 2017, 2018 with 360 Soca, and I always wanted to bring back Cindy's Top 10, to showcase Trinidad and Tobago culture and artists, and there's no soca video countdown.
Okay.
Right? I mean, there will, I think, maybe, I think I saw one sometime on TTT, if I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong. But, that was in and between when I started doing Cindy's Top 10 back in those days, and I just feel like there's a niche for it.
Okay.
Just to get the world acclimated even more so with soca music, the artists themselves, and I just felt like, doing a soca music video countdown would do just that, showcase our artists, display soca music to the world, and, just give us that vibe, energy, especially
come
those
to the
parents
times
that come
too,
to
because
Trinidad. Yes,
other
exactly.
genres have it, right?
Other genres have it,
Yeah.
So, I just thought that a soca music video count, I would like to see it mainstream.
Yeah.
So far, it's on YouTube, on Soca Citizen YouTube, but I would love to see it mainstream, and I would love to see it continued throughout the year. And I started it this year. My hope is for next year to get it picked up by one of the local Trinidad and Tobago television stations, and also, just further expose the culture and the soca to the world.
Yeah.
Because we have so many great artists, and soca music becoming such a prominent part.
Yeah, I think there's an absolute niche for what it is that you're bringing to the table. For all of these podcasts, all of these shows, because we don't necessarily have them.
Yes.
Right? Cindy, top 3 parties from Trinidad Carnival this year for you.
Ooh. Number 1. Okay, you want me to start from 3?
Start
Go down?
Start from 3.
Number 3. It was all about Pink Nick.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Now, Pink Nick was like a rough start. It was a really rough start. But I give them grace, and I'll tell you why. The rough start was the long hours that it took to open. I think it was like an hour and a half, 2 hours before anybody was able to get into the venue. I stood in line for like an hour and a half. People were waiting as long as 2 hours,
Wow.
2.5 hours. Because the event was scheduled to start at 3, and I guess the gates opened not until maybe 5, a little after 5, if I'm not mistaken, right? So that was it felt a little claustrophobic because there was like huge. you know, like a huge swath of people just waiting in the front. Everybody stuck together.
Yeah.
Your makeup running, the sun beating down on you. So it left a bad taste in a lot of people's mouth.
Yeah.
But
The vibes.
being a promoter myself, I
Yeah.
understand
Yeah.
what could happen in the background. And I give them grace, and I want people to give them grace also.
Okay.
Because sometimes, no matter what it is you prepare for at an event, sometimes there's always something new that crops up
Yeah.
that you didn't prepare for.
Yeah.
Or you knew it was a possibility, but you know, you think you executed everything well and it wasn't going to happen.
Something happened.
So as simple as something being in the wrong place and fire telling you we're not opening this venue until this get fixed.
Yeah.
You see this here, there's a fire hazard. Move this before you open the venue. Or police arriving late or something, or vendors reaching late, the food not coming. It's always something. And I give them grace because the last event I attended was perfectly executed. It was amazing. And this one I also give them grace because as a promoter myself, as an event curator, I understand the things that could go wrong in the background.
Yeah.
You know, so I absolutely feel it.
And your brand and everything
Right,
else.
I absolutely feel it for picnic. The only thing I think that they should have done differently was to take the stage at the event itself, the promoter come out and apologize to the patrons on the stage.
Yeah.
You know, if he did, I didn't see that, you know, but that is something that should have been done right then and there to help save the brand.
Yeah.
I will attend the event again.
Two.
Number two was I really enjoyed QRC Fete. I really enjoyed QRC Fete. That was nice. It was elegant. It was classy. The decor was, the decor was out of this world, you know. So that to me was a great event. The women were beautiful. The guys were looking dapper.
Uh-huh.
So that to me was a great event. But number one.
Yeah. Pepe, you know.
Let me take a sip for this. Hands down, the best event for the entire season of Trinidad Carnival was Heart Fete. I say Heart Fete. Let me repeat that. I say Heart Fete by Bungie Garlin and when I tell you, Bungie and Fayan, when I tell you, nah. You talk about vibes, and I feel like I was walking into Wassa, license, PSA, flower. I was walking into all of them
in one
simultaneously, just like one big back in the day fete. Yeah. People come out and with flag, with this. I know we wear sneakers, I wear short pants, you know. I had a rag in my back pocket. Yo, that was a fete.
Yeah.
They ain't lie. Hard fete. And I mean, this is an impromptu advertisement for the event, but all you see Hard Fete next year, don't miss it. And Bungie and Fayan. You see, we need a bigger venue.
Yeah.
We need a bigger venue. Because the crowd you going to have next year for Hard Fete is going to be amazing. I haven't gone to a fete recently and see so much flags. When I tell you flag like rain, you know.
Big flags.
Because teams come out with their flag and their team jersey and thing.
Yeah. Crazy.
It was literally like license fight, like back in the day.
Yeah.
When you had to walk home after. You understand? It was nice. So that was my number one fete for this season. Hard fete. I say hard fete. Fire. You know, when the fireman come on stage, so. And Fayan definitely held her own. She is a phenomenal artist, you know. The only thing with Fayan, I find, they didn't play enough of Fayan songs.
Okay.
Wet and Wild, 50-50. Yeah. That was a big song. Oh, I hardly hear that in party.
Yeah.
You understand? Don't ask what you're bringing to the table. Just sit down and eat it. Yo, I say sit down and eat it. That was a big song. That was a big song.
I want you to talk to me about, because we gone into the fete thing, right? And your short pants and what you know, and women looking good, and, right? You made a comment about wine ain't free again. I mean, those are my words.
Of course.
Wine ain't free again, right? I mean, you say that fellas had to ask. You also said that fellas in their short pants need to put on some drawers.
Yes. And I stand by that
You're
statement.
standing on that.
I stand by that statement because that was my experience.
Yeah.
I went to an event, someone whined on me. You know, although he technically he did ask, which he did the right thing. He didn't come out and say, hey, could I have this dance?
Yeah.
But I was dancing by the side, you know, and he started dance next to me.
Yeah.
He watched me in my eye.
Yeah.
He stick out his little hand.
Right.
You know, so I grab his hand and I turn and I start to belt waist.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I wasn't even a good.
Wait, no.
Eh.
Don't try that because you start to pelt waist, right? You started to pelt waist,
Pelt waist, I say.
right?
Eh.
And then, I mean,
It wasn't even a good 12 seconds, and the man thing get hard.
yeah,
When I tell you, I started to feel something poking me in my back. I look back. I do like lyrical say and look back.
look back.
If lyrical start that way, that is another subject. Hold on. But I do like lyrical say and I look back.
Look back.
And I look back. I didn't look up because I saw his face before. So I look back and I watched down the man wearing a hoochie daddy shorts with no drawers. And his thing was visibly pronounced. And sticker, I say, partner, where is that? It's not this type of party, you know. Yeah, I'm now God, I'm sorry, but you're sweet.
Well,
That ain't have nothing to do with me. Control your mind.
yeah.
Control your mind.
But
I
that-
know that I said the thing have a little mind of its own, but no. You could control it from up here. You could control it from up here. So don't come no party. You know, and when I posted that video about men wearing drawers and stuff like that, which went viral,
It did.
you know, a lot of guys commented. And one guy say, F you.
Mm-hmm.
Another guy say, I know we ain't no drawers, or they had to take that, or they don't wear no drawers, or they wearing tongues, and what kind of, like, what type of perverted reasoning is that? That you stating that you ain't wearing no drawers because you want, that is pervertishness. It's a pervert. And I stand by that.
Some kind of creep behavior.
It's that type of creepy behavior now. If you're with your man, you're dancing on your man and you know you're rocking back on and say, God, baby, you know he going and get that thing after. So,
But you know, like in defense of the men, right? Not in defense of men who's purposely outside trying to be a creep, right? But you get a sweet wine. I mean, it might be 15 seconds. You might, you know.
I understand that, and it has happened before, but this one was like, to me, the majority of women I know, like I myself, I don't want to dance on no stranger and feel your thing hard on me right away. I don't want to feel that. I jumping off one time. Where's that one time? I'm not playing that. You know? But some women may like it, you know, which I believe is the few, not the majority.
Okay, the
you know,
minority.
we just want to have a good time, you know, dance, you know, we get your wine, take it and relax
You also
yourself.
said that we had to ask for wine, and now I remember days where I could just go and take a wine. Then this new age, a time where
Yeah, we in a different.
I had to ask and beg for a wine,
We
and
in
you had to
different
look
time
back
now.
and
Well,
watch
nah.
me in my face to see
Nah.
if I cute enough for your wine.
Lyrical.
You know, like, I just don't understand what that's about.
Lyrical come to the front is you cause that, because you
But-
see, ever since you say, look back, look at how it arch, look back, you see, when we look back and we see a
But he
gremlin,
didn't
we
say
gone.
look back and look at his face to see
Yeah, nah.
if it's a gremlin or not.
Listen, once
He
you
didn't
look
say
back,
that.
everything in your peripheral
Leroy's my
view.
friend, my personal
Listen.
friend. He didn't say look back to see if he's a gremlin. He didn't say that.
No, he didn't say that.
Right.
But he said look back. So we start looking back. Yeah, nah. As a man come on my bams, so the first thing is look back to see who he is. And oftentimes, if we keep whining, yeah, you pass the test. If you jump off like this, nah, you ain't pass that test. And sometimes you could be a good looking man.
Yeah.
You know, it could be cute. You know, but it also depends on the mood that we are in. If we taking a video or we just want to whine by ourselves, we put we hand up and we start to rock back because we hear young brother's song, right? I want to dance by my song. I want to dance by myself.
Prezi said, Bacchanal Boys, he said, a lot of the reason why women are blocking these men or not dancing with them or whatever the case is because they scared, right? They're being roughed up in the parties and it's not fair to them. Is there any truth to that?
Yes, there is, because sometimes, like I remember a few years ago, I gave this one guy one dance, and out of the blue, the fella picked me up and started to run up and down. Running up.
Yeah.
Like run up. I said, Papa, I didn't like that at all.
Yeah.
You understand? So don't surprise me with no extracurricular activities.
Yeah.
You know, it's not a weight. Don't pick me up and try to exercise with me. Dance normal. You know, and then it have the guys that would simulate sex acts while they're dancing with a woman on the road. Cock up their leg and joking. Joke.
No
In
joking.
a previous post, I said, I am not ice and you is not a ice pick, so don't be joking me.
Yeah.
You understand what happened to whining?
Yeah.
What happened to just, you know, doing it nice and slow, everything. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like what's up with the joke and the bedroom thing where you go, and you're cocking up the leg and you're bringing them down. So like if you're standing up and you're doing something.
Let's call it dagger.
Dagger, yeah.
Yeah, a little dagger.
Yeah,
that's not part of it.
It depends on how you dagger. It depends on how you dagger. If you're dancing, if you're whining and you're dancing and you pelt a dagger so and you go so, that is one thing. But if you cock up my leg and you go between my, and some of them not spy you on the ground too, you know. And ladies, oh, they have to have a little more respect for yourself, Jet. Have a little more respect. Don't make no man pull you on no ground. Not because it's carnival and skin you up so you could see all your pegs on the ground and dagger and you're like you're in a bedroom. Relax yourself. Relax yourself. Don't be doing that.
So you find it's a little too slack.
You're devaluing yourself. Plus it have children on the road.
Yeah.
It's have children on the road. You making a man lean you up on a truck, put your two legs up and joking you like if he's a friggin', like if you use ice and he's ice pick.
Yeah.
Don't do them thing.
Yeah.
Have fun in the spirit of carnival. Wine down, wine low, wine back, do your thing, cock up by yourself, wherever. But once you involve a man and you start simulating sex act on the road, it's disgusting.
Do you have a problem with cussing in soca?
Cussing in soca? Yes and no. Yes and no. I mean, certain genres of soca does cuss plenty. Yeah. I'm not sure if it's Bouillon, but probably one of the small islands, it does cuss plenty. Put your finger in you and put it in your mouth. Them thing.
Yeah.
Them thing. I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of them kind of soca. I'm not a fan.
For it, right?
I'm not a fan of them kind of soca, but Pretty have a song. I think it's one of his latest songs or whatever. It mentioned, you know, like the F word and stuff like that. Cohen Dubois have a song, you know, and is one of his latest 2025 song, I believe, too. I can't remember how it goes now, but it also says like F you and, you know, that. I mean, we're all grown-ups, right? You know, so it's like a slippery slope for me, but it's a yes and a no answer for me, depending on my taste and depending on the type of soca it is.
Cindy, your birthday is coming up.
Yes, guys, can you believe I am turning 50?
Damn.
50, you know?
Wow.
Oh,
not a day older than 35, my friend.
I will take that.
Yeah, not a day older.
Oh, God,
than
I must smile and I'm
looking
feeling
very good.
nice.
So for your 50th birthday party, for your 50th, what are we doing?
So for my 50th birthday party, I wasn't sure what it is I wanted to do. I was kind of like in a funk. Do I want to spend it alone? Do I want to go away? Do I want to just sit and reflect? Do I want to just have a dinner with my friends? But then I was like, F all that. Turn up, bitch. Turn up. You're turning 50. I've been through a lot. I have been through a lot. I've been through the ringer. And, not a lot of people get to make it this far. So I feel like I'm also celebrating for them. So on Sunday 23rd, which is this Sunday coming, we're doing Bells and Ballers. Bells, the beautiful ladies, and then the ballers who have it. So wear something blue this Sunday, March 23rd, and come out and help me celebrate my 50th birthday party. We have you have to purchase your own drinks, of course. The tickets are only $20. Only $20, just enough for me to pay the DJs. First, I want to party and celebrate with all you. Plus, I'm fresh from Trinidad Carnival. When I tell all you, we going and lick all you some Trini 2025 soca, and of course, everything else dancehall, R&B,
right? Because you
hip-hop.
say Trini 2025 soca music.
Well, I mean, we playing everything, but I'm fresh from Trinidad, so I still a little hype. Trinidad had some really good soca.
Oh, I wanted to ask you. Okay, go ahead. Continue.
Yeah, so for my birthday party, we're playing everything. We're taking it back to Trinidad Carnival, the Tabanca experience. We're playing hip hop, R&B, we're playing all the genres of music. So just come out and celebrate with me. Wear something blue. If you're an Aries, April, March, we coming out and we celebrating at Bells and Ballers, Bliss Bar and Nightclub in Lauderhill. So come on out, guys. Tickets are only $20.
We're gonna cut a promo for you today.
Yes.
So that we can promote that event. Because you share a birthday with my son.
Yeah.
Right, same day.
Yeah.
So I don't know, maybe he could get tickets.
Yeah, he could come through. All you coming through,
Yeah. Cindy, I want to know, before we go, I want to know your Mount Rushmore, because you have your Sydney's top 10. So you're very well versed in the artists. Cindy's Mount Rushmore of soca artists. That's 1 to 5.
Mount Rushmore of soca artists. Past and present, or just we dealing with
soca
present?
Artists.
Just soca artists. I started from number 5. Starting from number 5, we go say lyrical.
Leroy.
Yeah.
4.
Leroy. 4, we will say Macintosh.
Wow, Ronnie
Macintosh.
Ent.
Ent. Ent. Number 3, there's this number 3, I would say, I don't know if everybody, if people would agree, I really don't care, but to me, I would say GBM. Yeah, I would say GBM. GBM, he's one of my favorite soca artists, and he has real styles.
Okay.
Right? Number 2, I would say Patrice Roberts.
Patrice.
Yeah. I love that girl. Yeah, she's an Aries too, like myself. But, she's been very, very consistent throughout the years. She's also been through a lot. And sometimes I feel like she's unfairly, she's been unfairly judged at times, so I relate to her. And of course, the number 1 would be Machel Montano. Party. That man has hits,
Yeah.
Is hit after hit after. I have a feeling from all Machel. If you play all Machel songs from yesteryear to now, there's a whole party day by itself.
Yeah.
He's a boss. He's a boss. So when I see people saying like, oh, Machel doing this and now he could do this and now he could do that. No, do everything. We on this word. Machel, do everything.
Yeah.
Forget the naysayers.
Yeah.
If you want to play pan, I want to see you playing pan.
Wow.
I want to see you do a solo, as a matter of fact.
Yeah.
The man is consistent. He's a genius since he's 6, 7 years old. Get Jack the jacket now, man, and relax all yourself.
He's definitely done the work.
Yeah, he's done the work. He's put in the time. Yep.
What it is that he's gotten, and I think that
he deserves all the accolades, all of it, all of
really
it.
put himself on the
and he's been brandishing soca music on our world stage.
Yeah.
So I think that Machel is number 1. If we want to talk about breakout artists for 2025,
a bonus.
huh?
A bonus.
A bonus?
Yeah, because We did 5.
We did 5.
So you're giving me a bonus now.
Oh, bonus. Okay. I was like, who's a bonus?
bonus.
A bonus. Okay. Bonus. Top 5.
No, just one.
Just one. Oh. Breakout artists. Okay. Top 5. Number 1. I would say.
Your breakout. One.
The breakout art. I would say Anika Berry. She's absolutely beautiful. She's a sight in person. She is absolutely beautiful. And she's been in this, in this thing for a while. I've been watching her, and this was her year. So I think the breakout artist for the year is her, Anika Berry. And if I add a bonus on top of that, I would say Kutain. I know he's been in the background doing things on the ground locally and stuff, but he is melodious. He is authentic. Wow. He is... he sings with a spiritual vibe. It's just like he takes you on a journey, like a soca journey towards a different plane.
Yeah.
And I just love the melodiousness in his voice, his vocals, his authenticity, and just his charisma. So I think that he's a great breakout artist for the year also.
Cindy, if one last thing, if there's a message that you can give to the young female promoter, entrepreneur who is trying to make their mark in a male-dominated world, what would you say to them to help motivate them to get to where you are?
I would say that an idea is an opportunity. An idea is an opportunity, and a vision is one possible path to your future. So, sometimes we get all these ideas and we play around with it in our heads and stuff. Why not explore it? Why not explore it? Not just in the promotion world, but whatever the idea is for a business, for a book, whatever it is, just explore that idea, because you never know. Every major accomplishment we've had within the 21st century, the 20th century, the 19th century is because it started as an idea. So let's explore those ideas. Let's incorporate our visions and work with it and see where it can take us. Because when I started to do my first event, it was just an idea, and look where I am now. Mm-hmm. I am the leading female event producer in South Florida. Event producer. So just take your ideas and run with it, and you never know, you could be sitting down on a fortune.
Yeah.
And no idea is dumb. Just take it for what it is and explore it and see what could happen.
Cindy,
so that's my advice.
We're super proud of you.
Thank you so
much.
Right?
I am absolutely proud of you. I've seen I've seen you in parties just partying, and I've seen you take the party and deliver something unique and special to the masses.
Yes,
right?
Definitely.
So I want to say thank you for coming to what they do. There's so much to talk about, but I think we touched a lot of things.
Yeah, we did.
You know what I mean? So once again, it's your friend Cisway. I want to welcome you and thank you for showing and sharing your time with me at the What They Do podcast. Once again, it's your friend. Hey, yo, What They Do.